Hi, I'm Christy Turner with DementiaSherpa.com. I'm your Dementia Sherpa guiding you through rough terrain. And today I want to talk about getting someone you love who's living with dementia to the doctor's office. That's one of the most challenging things probably that you'll ever face in the entire course of the journey through this disease process. And it's one of the things that I get asked about most often. So I have 12 ideas for you, 12 things to consider, 12 points to go through that hopefully is going to make this so much easier. And it seems like one of my dogs wants to hop in on the fun, so we'll just roll with it. These 12 points are so important that I've written them down. I want to make sure that I don't forget any of them, so you'll notice me glancing down at my notes from time to time. So the first thing that you want to do is make sure that you have a plan for the day. And what I mean by that is you want to kind of slide the doctor's appointment into the natural flow of the day. So we don't want the day to be focused on there's this big doctor appointment and that's the whole focus, and that creates a target for anxiety. So we don't want that. So on the flip side of that, we don't want something that is going to completely overwhelm someone either. So think about it this way. One errand, doctor appointment, something fun. Make that the flow of the day. I hope it goes without saying, but just in case it doesn't, here's a reminder. If your parent has never been a morning person, scheduling an appointment for first thing in the morning is setting you both up for a disaster of a day. Don't do it. Schedule it for first thing after lunch. That's going to give you a lot better opportunity for success. Number 2, oversharing leads to anxiety. This is just how it works for people living with dementia. So you give them a piece of information such as you have a doctor appointment coming up, and they don't remember the specific piece of information. What they do remember is how they feel, which is extremely anxious. We don't know why exactly this happens for people living with dementia. It could be that all of us just have this deep-seated anxiety about going to a doctor appointment. And for people living with dementia, once that self-editing feature, once the frontotemporal lobe is starting to give way, it just becomes more natural for people to express that anxiety. That could be part of it, but it's pretty much universally unpopular. So we don't want to create anxiety. We don't want to overshare. We don't want to tell people about it too far in advance. Think about it when your kids were little. You wouldn't have dreamed of saying, hey, I'm going to take you to the doctor to get shots next week, right? No way. You wouldn't want to deal with the meltdown that was going to come after that. So it's the same for people living with dementia. We don't want to overshare. Basically, use kind of the U.S. Army's rule of thumb, which is on a need-to-know basis, right? So it could be that you arrive at the appointment and that's when it becomes clear that you're at the doctor's office. It could be earlier in that day. It depends, because you are always the expert on your loved one. You know them best, so you know what's likeliest to work in your particular situation. Number 3 is you want to get yourself ready mentally, right? So one thing that I always preach is you want to bring in first the deep cleansing breath. Don't forget to let it out. And then you want to consciously call in respect, kindness, and love. You are going to let that be your guiding principle for everything you do, every interaction you have, which is going to make everything go so much smoother. Typically, we're able to be rather patient with our loved one because we understand their entire brain is under attack. They're dealing with dementia. That's really tough. But for some reason, we can end up forgetting that probably when we're feeling a little anxiety ourselves, right? Well, in a situation like this, families express a ton of anxiety about how am I going to pull this off? I know it's something that's going to make her unhappy. And then usually end up oversharing, which does in fact make mama unhappy, right? So we get sucked into this weird little vortex that's not serving anyone. So we want to stay out of that. Respect, kindness, love. That's the guiding light. And that means in this case, we're going to have some more patience and understand that this is something that is anxiety producing. So we're going to do everything we can to stave off that anxiety. And when it does show up, we're just going to be extra patient, extra loving, extra kind. Number 5, no, oh, better yet, number 4, what the heck? So one of the ways that you are going to be able to prepare yourself mentally, besides bringing in that mindset, is focus on doing the next indicated thing, okay? Don't, if the doctor's appointment is 3 weeks out, don't start stressing about it now. Don't start going, letting those gears get wound up in your mind, going, oh my gosh, how am I going to pull this off? This is going to be so hard. I'm so anxious about it. That's not helping you. It's not helping your loved one. Remember, when it comes to people living with dementia, energy is contagious. So whatever energy you're bringing, they're going to pick up on it. And that's great if you're bringing good energy, and not so good if you're bringing anxious energy. So please don't do that. Again, deep breaths. You can do this. Hundreds of thousands of millions of people have done this before you, have successfully pulled off a trip to the doctor. Okay? You can do it too. I promise. So focus on what's the next indicated thing. And that could be, number 1, you know they need an appointment, so make an appointment, right? Easy. It could be that you're thinking, okay, well, I can do all of this, but literally, how do I get her physically from here to there? Okay, well, that's going to happen on the day of. So if you're in a situation where you're dealing with someone who has forgotten how to get in and out of a car and isn't able to follow directions on that, you're going to want to use something called medical transportation. So you can Google that, put medical transportation in quotes, plus the name of your city. That will give you a list of options. Typically that runs somewhere around $80 a trip here in the US. So that's one option. Another option is public transportation. And at least here in the US, most cities, certainly major cities, have special transportation within the public transportation that is accessible for people with disabilities. And typically that runs somewhere around $1.50 to $3 a ride, and the care partner can ride with the person. So there's some paperwork that needs to be done before you can get into that program. It can take up to a month to process, so you want to plan accordingly. My mom used this with my grandma in the last couple of years of her life, and it was so much easier. It was a major lifesaver, both for making it happen and also for my mom's back. That was huge. So check into those options. Another thing could just be, okay, we got the appointments today. We got it. Again, get rid of that anxious energy. The next indicated thing may just be asking your dad to sit down, and then helping him with his shoes, and then helping him stand up, and then helping him out the door, and then helping him into the car, right? So that's what I mean by the next indicated thing. Focus only on what is immediately in front of you. That's a good way to stay in the moment, stay connected to your loved one, and not borrow troubles from a moment or 10 down the road. Number 5, no arguing. Be committed to that. And when I say be committed, I mean be committed in the way that I don't have to tell you that you don't kick your dog, right? You know that. You don't have to think about that. That's a no-brainer. It's not something you have to continuously make a decision about with every situation. You just know you don't kick your dog, period. Your mind doesn't even go there. Likewise with arguing. Get to that same place with arguing. It is unacceptable as kicking your dog. Why? First of all, you're never going to win, right? Ever. Second of all, the more that you get into an argument with your loved one who's living with dementia, typically these arguments start over whether the person is able to do XYZ. Could be driving, could be, walking independently without a walker. It could be a lot of different things, right? But usually it has something to do with their ability. And in their mind, they're fine. And you're arguing that they're not. So all that does, beyond generating bad feelings for both of you, is you are losing your credibility with your loved one. So it's incredibly unhelpful. Third, you end up having to go back and do some repair work on the relationship because this is a person that you love, right? So even if you're factually correct, nobody actually wins an argument in reality. So just don't go there. It's arguing is equal to kicking your dog. It's a no-go. Number 6, you want to create a plan for the day. Okay, and this is what I was talking about earlier. This is the appointment. We're just going to slide it in. It's just going to be part of the natural flow of the day. I know I said it earlier because I started off with have a plan for the day, and now I'm saying create a plan for the day. Okay, have a plan, create a plan. I think we're talking about the same thing, okay? So again, think about it, right? One of the things that I do want you to think about, I didn't make this point earlier, is the fun part at the end. This is not an option. This is crucial to making your day go the way that you need it to go and to successfully pulling this off, okay? So whatever that fun treat thing is, give it some thought now. Do not put yourself in the position of you've been through this experience, which may be a little bit traumatic, definitely anxiety riddled at the doctor's office. And now in that state of mind, you need to figure out what's the fun treat thing that you're going to go do. No, that does not lend itself to going to do something fun, right? Or to making a great decision. And you certainly don't want to be saying, so what do you want to go do? Because, your parent or your partner, whoever it is probably going to say something like, I want to smack you or want to kick you in the shins, or I don't want to be anywhere near you, or I just want to go home, or I want to get out of here, right? So don't let that happen. Don't put yourself in that position. Think of what the fun thing is already, okay? And this isn't like a trip to the amusement park. First of all, I know you wouldn't do that to a person living with dementia because you know how overwhelming that would be. But as far as length of time, we don't want it to be a huge, long, lengthy thing, right? Because the day has already been kind of long. So we want it to be something that is just really happy, pleasant, generating good feelings, not something that comes with waiting in a long line or making a lot of decisions. So use that in creating your plan for the day.